Okay, we did get the bulldozer unloaded. I figured out I'd film that for y'all. I mean, that's pretty simple. It's going to come down one way or the other. You just want it to come down with the tracks right side up. So we got to the job. Here's the fence row that they need to clear. There's been a bulldozer out here at some time before I got here some while back and cleared a lot of the trees away from the fence. But like everybody else, the landowner and the farmer that leases the place, they've got a bulldozer of their own, but it's just trying to find time to get anything done. So anyway, they was going to pull the wire out of the fence and all that, but that's the time consuming and the labor just eats you up. It's better just to go ahead and wad it up with a bulldozer and either bury what you can or put it in a pile with the trees and go on about your business. There's just not worth the time. It's money well spent just to go ahead and wad it up with a bulldozer. So there is this big wash right here coming into the gate where they come in with their tractors and stuff. So after I get the fence row cleared, I'm going to try to divert that water away from coming out this gate so it won't be running right down the middle of the gate in the road. There's still a lot of T-posts in this fence. Some of them brand new, some of them are old, but I've finally figured out it's worth the time that it takes to just go alongside the fence and just put the corner of your blade down and dip them posts up beside them posts and just loosen the ground, because T-posts have a tendency just to bend over as you go across them, and then so you've got to wind up digging them out anyway. But if you'll just loosen the ground beside them, whenever the wire starts to pull and you start going across, it'll usually pull the T-post out, and usually it'll stay with the fence if it's still got the clips and stuff. So anyway, we're going to start. There's some brush in some of it, and as you can see, the farther down you go, the trees get bigger and thicker. They're going to just put a new fence up between the field and the pasture. It's hard to keep cows out of the wheat field if there's not a good fence during the winter time, if you don't want them in here. So anyway, that's what we're going to begin to do. So we'll get started doing that, and hope y'all are enjoying watching these videos. So I'll show you some more later on today probably. So y'all have a good afternoon. When you're clearing brush, this is what you like to see when you dig up a mesquite tree. All of the roots and stuff, the side roots and stuff come out, attached to the trunk of the tree, and that pretty well guarantees that tree is not going to come back. A mesquite tree is unique is if you cut that tree off at the top of the ground, it comes back, and it comes back in a vengeance, because it'll come back as a bush and just keep growing. The stump seems to never die. When you see a tree like this with it laying on top of the ground and that's all of the stump you see, you can pretty well tell that that tree's been broke off and will continue to grow. These was some pretty good sized trees here where they knocked these down, and here's some trees that are they're coming back from the stump that was left. Here's an example of what happens when a mesquite tree breaks off. You can still see the stump is still into the ground, the bottom part of the tree. It's just been cut off, and you can see the growth that has come back since it was knocked down. I don't know when they first come in here to clear it. It could have been pretty dry, or for some other reason they couldn't wait till there was ample moisture in the ground. And that's what happens on mesquite trees. If you just take off everything above the ground and leave what's below the ground there, it continues to grow, and it will always be a mismatch with what is on top of the ground to what is underneath the ground. You'll see little trees, and then when you get ready to clear them, they got huge stumps under them, and that's what's the cause of it, because it's been cut off or something at one time in its lifetime. It's always better if you can have ample moisture when you get ready to do your brush work. But sometimes you can't. You can't wait. A fence row has to be cleared, or whatever it takes to get it out of the way. And I try to always tell the people I'm working for that there's a chance that them trees are going to come back, because I can't get them out of the ground when the ground's just too dry. So they'll have to continue to work on the brush to try to control it. Obviously, a lot of these trees was pretty good size in this pasture at one time. So anytime that you can have ample moisture, it works a whole lot better, but we all know that sometimes you can't get what you ask for. So sometimes stuff has to be done, but this is a good example of what happens when a tree is broke off, especially a mesquite tree. When you got a mesquite tree that's this big, when the ground has enough moisture, there's so much of the tree above the ground that once you get it to leaning, it'll almost pull the bottom part up. So that's another reason why the more moisture you got, the easier the trees will come out, because they'll almost pull themselves out. Here's a tree that broke off, and there's the stump coming up, and then there's some more down here. There's one with the stump still in the ground. Like I say, it's a whole lot easier to do it when the ground's wet, but it can't be so wet that you can't get no traction in your sink, because if the ground's too wet, as soon as your track starts to spin a little bit, you'll go down. So there's a time that it'll work good, and then there's a time that if you've got to do it, it's going to not do that good of a job, and I usually like to do a good job when I do something, and if they insist that it be done right now and there's not enough moisture, they're well aware of what it's going to look like when I get through. And what you see, these examples of these trees coming back, is what they'll have to either control by chemical or try to get them out of the ground again. And like I say, when they get this little of regrowth and their stumps are that big, you basically got to dig them out because there's no tree on top of the ground to help pull them out. So that's just one of the advantages of trying to have some moisture when you do this, which is working just right now. I looked at this about 3 weeks ago and it was dry, but we had over 2 inches of rain since then, so that's worked out just right as far as getting the ground enough moisture so you could do this work. Well, I think we got along pretty good. We got this one side done to the property line over there, and then this corner where the water was running out and running down the road, I kind of built it up, and so it'll kind of run over there toward that water spot. The little water hole looks like an old tank or something. Then we went up to the corner up to there and got it ready for the fence builder. So everything went pretty good. The sun finally come out. It's a beautiful day. We're gonna head in, and y'all have a blessed night, and we'll probably talk to you tomorrow. Well, I just finished the fence row, getting it all cleared up. I believe it'll be smooth enough they can put a fence on it. There was quite a few trees in it, big old mesquite trees, as you seen the other day. So but it's ready for them to build a fence. So I'm just going to drive down it and let you see what it looks like. That way you'll know.